Thank you so much for tuning back into my channel. Listen, my name is Charmaine Marie. This is part 2 of the sacred role of the Cherokee woman. I was talking about history and the Cherokee Nation and Oconee River and how Oconee rebirth came about, right? But I also was talking about Nancy Ward because, see, in order to understand her, you must understand the Cherokee woman. So, in traditional Cherokee society, okay, land was passed through mothers. The family line, it was matrilineal, okay? And so women, they own homes and crops and the hearth, and then the Sacred Council of Women could veto war, free captives, and advise chiefs, right? I think I said that right. So listen, Nancy Ward, she stood at the height though, okay, of that divine feminine power, this sacred woman, okay, of the Cherokee Nation, okay. She was a spiritual matriarch in a culture that respected balance, not dominance, but balance, okay. So she didn't ask for a voice because she was a voice. She was the voice, this woman. And so even in her latter years, Nancy Ward, she was forced from her land. This woman, yet even in exile, she chose to serve. I'm talking about the Oconee high priestess, Nancy Ward, right? She built even an inn, okay, on the Oconee River for a place where strangers could rest, where enemies became guests, and where stories were exchanged by firelight. And that inn, it had become more than just a shelter. It was her final temple, her last sacred space. It was to preserve what little connection remained to her people's spirit. I'm talking about the sacred role, okay? The sacred role of Cherokee women. That's what I'm talking about. So yes, she had passed around 1822, this woman. Her burial site is a sacred ground. Go look up Nancy Ward. Do your own due diligence. Do your own research, okay? Because see, the world didn't build her a statue, but see, the earth had remembered Nancy. Her burial site is near Benton, Tennessee, okay? And it's marked with stone. But beneath that stone rests a woman whose influence cannot be buried. She doesn't need a monument, this woman, because see, her memory, it lives in the blood of every Cherokee woman who dares to speak, who dares to lead, and who dares to love and to fight for peace. So you don't have to be loud to be legendary. You don't have to do that. You don't have to rule from a throne to lead a people. Sometimes the holiest voice is the one that speaks between the wars. So Nancy Ward, she walked among her people as a guide, as a mother, as a mirror of the Creator's grace. And for that, she will forever be beloved. Jediah. So listen, let's talk about this. Comment, I walk in the spirit of the beloved woman. So let's talk about this sacred woman because see, she carried fire. The warrior woman of the Southeast, okay? I'm talking about women like Nancy Ward in the Southeastern indigenous history, right? I'm talking about she had ties into native priesthoods. Okay, this woman. She had spiritual gifts. She had foresight in native cultures. And she deconstructed stereotypes. And she was reclaiming power. She wasn't, I ain't talking about a savage, but I'm talking about a seer. She was rewriting the narratives of native women, right? I'm talking about the spiritual mother of the land. The ones who knew before the storm. the indigenous women in prophecy. That's what I'm talking about here. Listen, I want to make this a living legacy. Do y'all hear me? Because this woman, Nancy Ward, she played her role, baby. As a Cherokee woman, she played her sacred role. I'm trying to tell y'all. I'm trying to tell you. More than 2 centuries after her death, Nancy Ward's spirit still moves among us. Do y'all hear me? Her history is not just history either. It's a call for you to reclaim power. It's a reminder that leadership comes from courage, it comes from compassion, and it also comes from connection. This is the legacy of the beloved woman. I'm talking about the Oconee high priestess and why she matters more now than ever. You're talking about in a world obsessed with titles and status. Nancy Ward teaches us that true leadership is about service. She didn't lead for fame or control. She led because she was called. She was called by her people, just like the Most High said, my people who are called by my name. She was called to protect them, to guide them, to carry their burdens, right? To fulfill the law of Christ. Her power came from humility. It came from wisdom, and it also came from listening. So today we learn from her example. We lead with heart, not ego. Not ego. The Cherokee people, they have faced centuries of trauma. I'm talking about people, they wiped the whole tribe, the nation, off of the land. But see, Nancy Ward, her legacy is a beacon of healing. Do y'all hear me? She stood for peace amid the war. She chose mercy over vengeance. And she built bridges instead of walls. So healing begins when we remember the humanity in everyone, even those we fear or we don't understand. For too long, the strength of indigenous women have been ignored. It has been silenced. And so Nancy Ward, she reminds us that our power, yes, is sacred. Our voices are ancient songs of resistance. And resilience. Now listen, in reclaiming her story, Nancy Ward, we reclaim ours. We have the power to heal, to lead, and to transform. So I walk in the spirit of the beloved woman. I'm talking about the Oconee high priestess. This ain't just no phrase, baby. This is a declaration. I walk in the spirit of the beloved woman. I'm the beloved woman, just like Nancy was. So how do we honor her now? What can we do today to support indigenous-led organizations and causes, right? How do we learn and share the stories of indigenous women leaders and listen deeply to the indigenous voices? How do we challenge stereotypes and demand justice, right? Because we have to remember that history is not just about the past, but it also shapes the present or our future, okay? So stories like Nancy Ward were nearly lost, hidden beneath centuries of silence, centuries of misunderstanding, okay? But see, every time we tell her story, okay, we light a fire that can never be extinguished, because stories aren't just memories. They are acts of resistance. They are seeds of change. That's why God said it's the healing power of the glory in your story. Do you hear me? And so the world needs more beloved women, empowering and uplifting, more leaders who speak the truth, and you carry compassion, but you also walk in courage. I'm talking about let Nancy Ward's legacy inspire your journey, because the power to change the world lives on the inside of you. Nothing changes, baby, until you change. So I honor the beloved woman within me. I honor that. I'm talking about the role of the Cherokee woman in tribal governance today. How do we celebrate the indigenous feminine power inspired by Nancy Ward. How do we share this story? Because this story, it deserves to be shared. And I'm here to make it unforgettable. I'm here. I'm showing up. I'm the show up queen. I'm the comeback queen. I'm going to show up when don't nobody else show up. I'm talking about the sacred priestess of Cherokee. The sacred woman of history. Let's talk about it. Because see, this woman, her title held more than respect. It was a sacred calling. It was entrusted with ceremony, spiritual guidance, and the healing of her people. It was not just, no, Nancy Ward, she was not just a leader of warriors. No. She was a priestess. She was a guardian of balance. And she was a keeper of the sacred law, this woman. Yes. The beloved woman, she held a unique spiritual responsibility. She presided over important ceremonies and rituals, this woman. She led women in prayer. She led women in healing. She served as a mediator between the physical and the spiritual realms, this woman. She was seen as the embodiment of the earth mother's power, this woman. Through her voice, the voice of the Creator. Okay, through her voice, the voice of the Creator was heard. Ceremony was not a theater. It was the lifeblood of the community, though. So her power, it was rooted in connection to the sacred feminine. She embodied nurturance without weakness, strength without violence, wisdom beyond words. She honored the cycles of life, this woman. Birth, growth, death, renewal. And she used this understanding to guide her people through times of peace and conflict alike. I'm talking about the sacred feminine. It's not soft, no. It was deep, fierce, but also eternal. Her influence, it had extended beyond the ceremonies. When violence erupted between the Cherokee and settlers, Nancy Ward, she used diplomacy to protect lives. She saved captives by intervening with her authority, okay? That's what she did. She intervened, she negotiated peace with wisdom and compassion. Her intervention, it had cost, I'm telling you, countless lives. Her intervention, and she built bridges where there could have been only hatred. That's what I wanted to say. She understood. War may take the body, but peace saves the soul. She knew that. She knew this. And so her greatest gift was her ability to hold balance between war and peace, man and woman, spirit and body, past and future. She was a living example of Cherokee values. Her harmony, okay, and her respect and honor in her shoe. We remember that true power comes from balance. And that leadership is a sacred trust. It's sacred. I'm talking about this woman. She was a high priestess. She was a warrior, a mother, a woman whose soul held the heartbeat of a nation. And her story, I'm telling you, this is a deep story. It reminds us of the sacred feminine. It's not a relic of the past, but a force for healing and transformation today. So comment below, I carry the balance of the beloved woman, the Cherokee priestess, Oconee high priestess, the sacred woman, the sacred feminine. Okay? That's what we're talking about on today. We're talking about the sacred role of the Cherokee woman. Okay? The high priestess named Nancy Ward, the Cherokee woman. Her personal acts of bravery. Okay? What she did. She fought not just as a woman, but as a warrior. I'm trying to tell y'all, this act shattered expectations. And it redefined what strength really looked like. I'm trying to tell y'all. She was a leader with equal voice, this woman. She became one of the few women, too, who granted a seat. This woman was granted a seat on the Cherokee Council. Her voice was listened to. Her decisions shaped the future. I'm trying to tell y'all. It shows us that courage is not just about fitting in, but it's about breakthrough. It's about breakthrough, okay? Her leadership came during turbulent times. Do y'all hear me? Colonial expansion had threatened her people's land, life, and culture. She knew war before it came. I'm trying to tell y'all. And she stood firm. She negotiated peace treaties. She protected the Cherokee sovereignty and fiercely opposed those land sales that threatened her people's survival. I'm talking about the will of the Cherokee people. Her voice echoed that their land was sacred. It was not for sale. I'm trying to tell y'all. I'm trying to tell you. She was the fierce protector of a people's future, this woman. Okay? She knew that leadership demanded sacrifice, though, for the good of the whole. So her story reminds us true courage means standing alone when no one else will. Her life breaks the chains of the colonial narratives, okay? Reclaiming indigenous stories of strength, wisdom, and sovereignty. She is a beacon. This Oconee high priest, listen, she was a beacon for anyone fighting for justice, for equality, and for the right to lead. Her courage lives in every voice that dares to speak the truth. I'm trying to tell you, and for every hand that fights for freedom. You don't have to wear a crown or hold a sword to be a leader. You don't, okay? Sometimes the greatest act of courage is just simply showing up. Keep showing up. She showed up, this woman, and when she kept showing up, she changed history. So I honored the courage of Nancy Ward because she was a show-up queen. The woman kept showing up. She kept showing up. I'm telling you. Until she was able to stand on the Cherokee Council, she kept showing up. She kept showing up, this woman. I'm trying to tell you. She kept showing up. This woman, she kept showing up. I'm telling you. Her power was not only in her bravery, but it was in her vision. A vision that she saw beyond the conflict to a future where her people and the settlers could live with respect and understanding. She was a bridge between worlds, cultures, and hearts. Okay? Instead of revenge, she chose mercy. She protected her people. She protected Lydia Bean. Remember, I told y'all that. She captured a settler woman. She had welcomed her into Cherokee life. More than protection, she offered education too, teaching Cherokee women new skills. New skills, this woman. I'm talking about Oconee high priest. She taught the women new skills. Weaving, dairy farming, and more. This act was radical. It planted seeds of peace through learning and respect. She understood that education was a powerful tool, not just for survival, but for dignity, for growth. Through knowledge sharing, cultures could find common ground. And Cherokee women learned new crafts. Settlers learned the strength of Cherokee traditions. Education, it was not a simulation, but a two-way bridge of empowerment. That's what it was. It was a cultural exchange. It saved lives and it forged alliances. That's what it did. So by choosing mercy, she changed hearts, this woman. She turned her enemies into allies, fear into understanding. She became a sanctuary by the Oconee River, a sanctuary of stories, cultural, and healing. She showed that peace isn't weakness. It's the most courageous act of all. And her story, what it does, her example in today's divided world, okay? Her story challenges us to seek understanding over judgment, to use education as a bridge, not a barrier, and to choose mercy even when it's hard. Because while we build bridges and we build a better future, that's what we do, right? So Nancy Ward, she was more than a warrior or a leader. She was a visionary, this woman. She was a teacher. She was a bridge builder, this woman. Her legacy calls us to remember the greatest power lies in our ability to connect, okay? So you should choose to build bridges like Nancy Ward. She was an educator and a cultural keeper, this woman. The indigenous wisdom can heal modern divides. I'm trying to tell y'all. I'm trying to tell y'all the truth. So this story is deep. It's deep, y'all. But it's profound. I'm talking about the sacred role of a Cherokee woman, okay? She built the inn near the Oconee River that was alive with the sounds of community, laughter, storytelling, the crackle of firewood, and the rhythm of daily life, okay? Travelers, settlers, Cherokee families all found a welcome. Do y'all hear me? Her inn was the place where stories were shared. Old wounds began to heal, and new friendships were born. This was the living spirit of Cherokee hospitality. That's what it was. So life at the inn, I-N-N, because she had an inn, remember, by Oconee River. And it was simple, but it was sacred. Mornings began with prayer, offerings to the Creator. Meals were shared from gardens tended by the women. Okay? Evening fires became circles of songs and wisdom. She guided visitors with grace, and she held the space for peace to grow. The inn, her inn, it was a temple. Oconee Rebirth Temple. Not of stone, but of heart. See, you got to get a new heart. Ask God to give you a new heart, to give me a new spirit. The inn, it became a neutral ground. It was a place where enemies could meet without fear, where treaties could be discussed over shared meals, and where the future of people was quietly shaped. Her role as a host was also her role as a peacemaker. Do y'all hear me? Every guest who crossed her threshold, it was touched by her courage, touched by her compassion. Do y'all hear me? So though this inn, I-N-N, because she had an inn, remember, near Oconee River, it no longer stands, but it's her spirit. It's the spirit that's going to live on. It teaches us about the power of creating sacred spaces. Remember, I talked about creating a sacred space in your own life, spaces of welcome, spaces of understanding, and spaces of healing in a world that's hungry for connection. Her inn, Nancy Ward's inn, remains a shining example of peace in action. It invites us to ask, how can we create sanctuaries of peace? in our own community? How can we be hosts of kindness, keepers of culture and builders of bridges? How can we hosts of kindness be hosts of kindness? We want to be keepers of the culture. We cultural people, right? Comment, I am a keeper of sacred space. I'm a keeper of the sacred space. We're talking about Nancy Ward, the sacred role of a Cherokee woman, okay? And her legacy. We want to honor Nancy Ward's legacy. We want to be keepers of the legacy. Her greatest gift was not only her leadership, but it was the wisdom that she passed on. She was a teacher, she was a mentor, she was a guide, and her spirit lives in the women who learn from her. And in every Cherokee woman who carries that legacy forward. Her spirit lives. So in Cherokee culture, knowledge was sacred, passed from elder to youth in ceremonies, in stories, in daily life. She took her responsibility seriously because it was a serious deal. It was a big deal. She taught women the skills to nurture, to lead, to protect their families and communities. Through her mentorship, a lineage of strength was born. She shared not only practical skills, but she shared deeper truths. She guided women in ceremonies honoring the earth, the Creator, and the cycles of life. Her teachings reminded them that their power was connected to all living things. To honor the land is to honor yourself, she taught this woman. I'm talking about as beloved woman, Nancy Ward. Her voice carried weight. She held weight, y'all. Remember I did a whole video about spiritual weight and the holding weight, spiritual weight in the spiritual realm. She lifted others up. She lifted them up. She ensured that the next generation was prepared to lead, heal, and to protect Cherokee's sovereignty. Her mentorship, it was a sacred act of legacy. Okay? Through teaching, she multiplied her power, this woman. So today, we carry forward Nancy Ward's legacy. Indigenous women carry forward her legacy. They lead movements of justice, culture, and healing. And they are inspired by the wisdom of their ancestors. Her story reminds us all, true power lies in lifting others. That's where your strength lies. Nancy Ward's legacy is a circle. Divine feminine circle. She had a circle. So it was a never-ending flow of knowledge, courage, love. So who will you mentor? What wisdom will you pass on? I want you to comment below and say, I honor the teachers who lifted me up. I honor them. I honor them, Abba Father. I honor those women. So healing, it flows from the earth, from the plants, from the rivers, from the very breath of the land, right? So Nancy Ward is a beloved woman. She was also a healer, this woman. She was a guardian of Cherokee medicine and spirit. Her hands brought relief. Her prayers brought peace, okay? In Cherokee culture, healing was a sacred art. blending herbal medicine, spiritual ceremony, and community care. She learned through the secrets of plants, the songs of healing, and the power of the mind and spirit to restore balance. Healing was never just physical, it was sacred, a sacred dance of body, of mind, of soul. Okay, her healing extended beyond the sick. She healed wounds of the heart, the trauma of war, loss, and displacement. Her leadership was medicine for the Cherokee people. And through her presence, they found strength to endure and hope to rebuild. True leaders heal. They don't just command, they nurture. So healing was intertwined with spirituality. Ceremonies, prayers, offerings connected the community to the Creator. She was a bridge between the physical and the spiritual realm. Her healing hands guided, okay, by sacred wisdom. In every ritual, in every herb, there was a prayer, there was a promise of renewal, okay? So today, indigenous healers, we honor Nancy Ward's, legacy. I'm talking about traditional medicine, ceremonies continuing to thrive. We offering paths to wellness rooted in culture and spirit. Her healing touched lives. In every hand that tends the earth and cares for the community. Healing is sacred. It is a sacred responsibility. It is a form of love, leadership, and resistance. Okay? Her story invites us to listen to the earth, to honor our bodies, and to heal together. Comment, I honor the healers in my life. Honor the healers in your life. We're talking about indigenous healing, sacred medicine. Okay? That's what we're talking about. Leadership was a sacred duty. It was a responsibility to uphold justice, balance, and the well-being of the people. That's why few women had held a seat on the Cherokee Council. Because her voice, Nancy, it was a voice for fairness and wisdom. Unlike many Western societies, Cherokee governments valued the input of women, actually. The beloved woman, she had the power to influence decisions, to speak on matters of war and peace, and to safeguard the rights of families and clans. So her presence in council was a testament to the Cherokee belief in balance between masculine and feminine, between strength and compassion. She used her seat to advocate for the protection of Cherokee land and people. She reminded leaders that true justice serves the whole community. Her courage helped shape laws rooted in respect for life and harmony with nature. She was a guardian of Cherokee sovereignty, a protector of sacred laws, this woman. Her wisdom helped her to navigate this delicate balance, holding fast to tradition while engaging new realities. She embodied leadership that honored the past while forging a path toward survival and resilience. So true leadership actually deepens, right? And moves with both strength and grace. So listen, Nancy's role in governance paved the way for future generations of indigenous women leaders. So her example, what it did, it challenged us to rethink leadership, to value wisdom, balance, and voices often silenced. Her legacy lives on in every woman who leads with heart and with justice, right? Leadership is more than power. It's service, it's courage, and it's vision, okay? Justice and compassion are the foundation of true strength. So we have to honor the leaders who serve with wisdom. So that's just a little bit about Nancy Ward. A little bit about her legacy, how we honor it. You know, she was a warrior, a leader, a healer. She was a visionary. Her story is one of courage, wisdom, and unyielding love for her people. She broke barriers. She healed wounds. She built bridges that still inspire today. She went from the battlefield to the council fire. Okay. Then to her end, of her end to the sacred circle of teaching. So she wore many hats, this woman. Each one a thread woven into the rich tapestry of Cherokee history, though. Her life reminds us, okay, that strength is multifaceted, okay? Rooted in courage and compassion. This is what we know. Her legacy, it just calls us to stand boldly in the face of injustice, choose mercy over revenge, build bridges instead of walls, lead with heart and wisdom, and honor the sacred responsibility to protect our community and our culture. Okay? The story is not going to just end here, but this story also, it continues to live in every person who dares to be brave, to speak the truth, and to act with love. Nancy Ward, her flame is in the hearts of the indigenous women leaders today. In every voice raised for justice, and in every hand that heals. So what will your legacy be? And how will you carry the flame of courage and wisdom in your own life? Okay? Because this story, the story of Nancy Ward, the sacred role of the Cherokee woman, it invites you to step forward, to be a warrior of peace, a keeper of wisdom, and a builder of bridges, okay? So that you could carry the flame of Nancy Ward. So thank you so much. I want you to like, share, and subscribe to honor her legacy. Thank you so much for listening.